Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Jake here at Nerd Level Rising. In this week's Sun Eater video, I've done a long string of these, but been doing a Sun Eater video every weekend, every Saturday leading up to the release of Shadows Upon Time. And in this week's, I want to talk about why I love this series so much. Last week, I mentioned the themes of Sun Eater, and there are so many. I don't even know how long that video was, but I mentioned like a dozen, and it's not even an exhaustive list. It's just the ones that came to mind immediately. And the themes are such a big part of why I love the series, but there's so many other things also, so much so that I was going to just make this video. And then as I got thinking about the themes, I was like, this has to be two separate videos because there's too much to talk about. And so this is sort of part two of the depth of Sun Eater, of why the series means so much to me, why I've latched onto this so strongly. And I want to talk about those things here today. And I think the first thing is the timing in which I've read this series. I really just found it at the perfect time. I think there's so many things in life, TV shows, movies, music, books, video games even, where it can have all the right things, all that checks all these boxes, but if the timing's not right, you might like it, but it sort of drifts away sometimes, right? Or it's, just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't speak to you as strongly, but if the timing is perfect, it's just, you latch onto it so hard. I've had that with music. I've had that with TV shows and things like that. And Sun Eater is one of, I've had it with other book series as well, but Sun Eater is one that really encapsulates that. I just found it at the perfect time where a lot of the things I've been thinking about myself in my life are things that are reflected in these books. And I see so much of myself in these characters that it really has just, I don't know, I feel like I'm just locked together with Hadrian and with this story. And speaking of the characters, right, like this is just such a big thing for me that not just Hadrian, but primarily Hadrian. I see so much of myself here. I see myself struggle with some of these things. I think about as a kid when I think like most kids, you kind of think the world revolves around you and you sort of slowly become humbled by life, and you start to see that your actions have consequences. You start to see that other people have lives and emotions and reactions to things, and you start to think about those, and you develop more empathy, and then you start to form strong relationships with people, and you see how that changes how you live and what you do, your actions, your words, your decisions. You see as you gain experience, you gain influence or power or whatever, right? Or maybe it's in the real world, maybe it's career, things like that. You see now you have to reassess those things all over again, your actions and your words, because the ripples go further, right? It's not just within you. And you see that you're presented with decisions or these points in life where you have to do something or not do something or make a choice or do these things. And it can be really hard to make those decisions. There's just so much more to think through. And you see you're going to go through really hard things. And like, well, how do you respond to going through those hard things? How do you respond to suffering? How do you respond to people coming to get you, basically, right? And obviously, I'm not hopefully not going to have assassination attempts and things like that, right? I'm not going to have an alien race come down and try to eat me and whatever. But there's going to be things that aren't that great, and it's like, well, how do I respond to that? And I think about all those sorts of things. I think about relationships and friendships, romantic relationships, and I've talked about how there have been scenes in this series that have just cut to my core and just destroyed me. And I think that only happens because I see so much of myself, not just in Hadrian, but in some other of these key secondary characters as well, Valka being one of them also. And there's just, I don't know, man, endless things I could say about how strongly I've connected to Hadrian, especially here, which makes sense because he's, the only POV that we get through the series. It's so much, man. It's just, it's great. There's a lot of references to other media in this also, which I think I really, really appreciate. I like the style of this, maybe is what I'm trying to say, that it references fantasy things. It references science fiction things. It includes the style and the trappings and the settings and the verbiage that is trying to evoke these certain feelings that you're used to having when you read a fantasy story or when you read a science fiction story, and it's blending all those things together, and it's referencing Star Wars, and it's referencing Gene Wolfe, and it's referencing Berserk, and it's referencing Cowboy Bebop, and it's like just all, there's so many things, and there's a bunch I'm sure that I didn't catch, right? I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that went way over my head just because I haven't seen that piece of media or whatever, right? And I love that. I love that it is paying homage to so many things that I like and that the author likes. I love that it's blending all these things together. I love that it's exposing me to cosmic horror. This was my first experience with cosmic horror, and I was like, I want more of this. This is great. And then I went out and I read Discovery by J.A.J. Minton that just was like, okay, this, I gotta get more. Like, I really have to have more of this now, right? And I love that. And now I have a list of stories to check out that feature that, right? I have a Lovecraft collection on my shelf, and there's just, I love that it's opened my mind to that. It's really opened me up more to frame narratives and just that style of storytelling in general that I hadn't really, I don't think I'd read any of that before I started Sun Eater. And now I've read a handful of them, and I like them quite a bit. So this has really helped me with that. It helped me enjoy first-person narration, right? Where before I was like, I don't know. I enjoyed Red Rising, but I think it still bothered me a little bit, the first-person stuff. It's just not my preference. I like third-person the most. But here with Hadrian, I'm just like, wow, okay, this is like, I do like this. So I don't know. It's just opened me up to that. I just love the writing style, the prose. It's beautiful, but it's not over the top, right? Christopher has really found the balance to strike there, where it's very poetic at times, it's very philosophical, but at the same time, it's very grounded, and it never feels like it's just kind of going off in this long, winding journey for no reason. If there's ever philosophizing that happens, and there certainly is, but it's there for a reason, and it's there. It makes sense based on what Hadrian is going through in the story, and there are things that Christopher will do where he'll drop bits of foreshadowing in there that you really can't do if it wasn't a first-person framing narrative style. Like just things like that. All the style that's happening here, I just love so much. I think it's great, and all the references and all the blending of genres and everything. It's just great. And to build off of that, it's just, I love all my favorite series do this. And I certainly count Sun Eater among them, that they have this thematic depth. There's so much depth to the themes that are being explored, to the characters, to the world, and to the everything is just, the author took so much care to create this and to convey it in a way that is truly artistic. I mean, like, every word is chosen for a reason, and it's just so deliberate, and it's so vulnerable the way that they're writing these characters, and it's just, it's so rich with everything, but it's still just cool, right? Like, there's just cool stuff that happens. It's just, in Sun Eater, we get the big spaceship explosions, right? We get the giant laser beams. We get the sword fights, the laser sword, whatever things, right? The high matter blades. We get the scary aliens and fighting them. We get the Colosseum battles. We just, there's so much of this really deep, rich, philosophical things, but then there's just just give me the cool explosion also, right? And my favorite series always have both. And you can have one or the other, and I can really, really enjoy it. And having both of those is just, that's the secret for me personally of becoming an all-time favorite. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there's just so many moments here where I just get chills because it's just that cool. It's just that cool, and it makes me want to stand up and cheer or gasp out of shock or just things like that, right? It's just, it really speaks to me in that way. I think the other thing that I want to mention here too, to maybe end off, is this doesn't have as much to do with the story, although I think it does in a roundabout way, that Christopher Ruocchio is such a genuinely good person by all accounts. Every interaction that I have had with him, everything that I've seen of other people interacting with him, having him, on their channel for interviews or things like that. Anybody who's ever talked about him, he's genuinely a good person, genuinely cares about what he's doing, about his art, about his fans. He interacts with the fans so much. If you go to, he has his own channel, right? Where he does these writing updates. He does his a live stream Q&A every month. He talks so much about his process and how it's going and what it's doing, and he's keeping the fans updated all the time. about where he's at in the story, any roadblocks that come up, the special editions. He's always updating people on the progress with those, when they're coming out, were there any delays, why was there delays, how is that going to affect the buyers, new artwork for the series, new things with his Patreon and the trading cards that he does, and the short stories that he's writing, the sword and sorcery ones, and now he went so far. He didn't have to do this big release party that I'm going to, so many people are going to, but he did, because it's great for him, of course, right? It's great for him. He gets to celebrate this thing that he created, that he's finishing. He's taking his victory lap, and it's just awesome, and it's so well deserved. But it's also sort of for us, right? Like we as fans now get to congregate and just interact with him and talk to him and get stuff signed and just celebrate this thing that we all love so much. And like, it's just so cool to see somebody put that much effort in and to be just so genuinely nice and care about every interaction that he has. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, that always makes me want to support somebody, whether it's an artist in this way, whether it's a visual artist, painter, etc., whether it's a musician, whether it's an academic professor, whatever, right? Whatever it is, if someone's just nice and they're going out of their way to just be a good person, like, wow, it makes me want to support them so much more. And it makes me want to go buy their special edition. It makes me want to tune into their live stream. It makes me want to, if I like the work, it makes me want to spread the word about it even more and all those sorts of things. So I do have to, of course, throw that in there as well. I think that sort of sums it up. I'm sure there's more I could come up with about why I like this series, but I've talked about all of it so many times because it just means so much to me. And it's just, I have 2 full sets of the series behind me, or at least I will once book 7 comes out. And, when we get the last couple of Broken Binding ones and I'm definitely getting the Andorida books. And like, I really, fingers crossed, would love to get the Diamond Edition at some point and get those. Like, this thing means so much to me. And I just want to talk about it all the time. All the time. I can't wait to read book 7 along with all of you and be able to talk about that and just bask in the wonder of the conclusion of this series. So with that, we'll have one more video in this string of Sun Eater videos here, Sun Eater Saturdays. We got one more of those before the release, and that'll be a very cool one. So keep your eyes out for that next weekend. Otherwise, talk to me in the comments. Why do you love Sun Eater? Or if you haven't read it yet, what do you think, right? What do you like? Do you think that do you think it's overhyped? Do you think you're hearing these things, but you're not so sure? Like, man, what's going on with this? If you have any questions, hit me up. Would love to talk about it. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, hit that button. I love seeing the channel grow. If you want to be involved with the channel, you want to join the Discord, you want to get in the Patreon, you want to join the book club, there's so much information on all that stuff in the description of this video. And with that, I bid you farewell for now. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you later.